Over 20 times, victims got saved just by the whiskers. The Vigilant Neighbor, Kentucky. It was 5:30 p.m. and a little child of 6 was riding her bike just close to her home when something completely unexpected happened. A stranger grabbed her and threw her quickly into his car. Here's a cop body cam video of the moment the little child was saved from the kidnapper.
Stay right there. Stay right there. Hello. It's okay. Come here. It's okay.
Things would have gone a lot differently but for the quick thinking of the good neighbor who saw it all and didn't keep quiet. Mr. Weatherford got in his car quickly and gave chase. He didn't care about what weapons the kidnapper might have on him, he just knew he had to do something, and he did. He stopped when he saw the cops, but he already got an important piece of evidence that would help the cops find the kidnapper: a detailed description and a partial plate number for the car. The police swung into action immediately, and in a matter of minutes they had the car in their sight. The girl was saved while the 40-year-old kidnapper was taken into custody.
See your hands.
Okay, what's your exact location?
Hands.
This was resolved quickly due to the vigilance of a neighbor, but such situations could have been avoided altogether if the parents of the child had been a little more careful. A child of 6 should be watched more closely to safeguard against this and other ills. Kidnapping at a gas station, Philadelphia. Here's another moment where the vigilance of a stranger stops what could have been a catastrophic situation for this victim. The man in the seemingly innocuous-looking clip had carjacked the woman with him while claiming to have a weapon on him. The scared woman drove around town with him at some point during this very heart-wrenching ride, and he had forced her to stop at ATMs in town where they withdrew some money before ending up at this gas station store where everything takes a sharp turn. The kidnapper's smart. He walks a few steps behind the woman, keeping his hand hidden in his pocket. As they walk into the store, he even gives a few friendly waves to the store clerk, making sure to appear casual and unbothered. But the store clerk wasn't fooled by his antics. He sensed something was wrong. He watched the kidnapper and his victim walk by and try using the in-store ATM. When they couldn't withdraw cash, they went over to the counter where the suspect used the victim's ATM to buy cigarettes. The moment they try to leave, the store clerk swings into action. The kidnapper had gone out of the door ahead of his victim. It was at this moment the clerk jumped in front of the woman, unbothered by the kidnapper's threat of a concealed weapon. You can see the kidnapper reach into his pocket as the clerk confronts him outside the store. The clerk didn't just call the cops. He put himself in harm's way boldly and insisted that the woman wasn't going anywhere with the strange-looking man. What did the kidnapper do when he saw the clerk's unwavering boldness? He fled in the woman's car. Police caught up with the car later, arrested the kidnapper, and retrieved the stolen vehicle. We advise a quick 911 call if you ever witness a similar incident. This would have been a lot worse if the kidnapper really had a weapon on him. The clerk may have lost a limb or his life, but how grateful are we to kind and watchful strangers? The Case of Carl Gravett, South Salt Lake, Utah. In this clip, you can see a man throwing a woman over his shoulder and marching off in broad daylight under the eyes of bystanders and passerby. The man in the footage is 22-year-old Carl Gravett. You can see the moment the woman ran out of the gas station's convenience store, dashing towards the truck of another man who was filling his tank. She tried to hide under his car, but Gravett found her, pulled her out, and threw her over his shoulder, then carried her to his car, and they can be seen driving out of the gas station immediately. Witnesses say she was kicking and screaming as she was carried to the vehicle. She also kept asking bystanders for help. They say she kept saying, "Help me, please, help me," even as she was being carried to the car. Instead of helping her, bystanders reported the incident to the cops, and the police, having watched the surveillance videos, issued an immediate Amber Alert, thinking the abducted woman was a minor due to her small stature and the size 3 shoe that had been left back at the scene. It turns out the woman is 35 and in a relationship with Gravit. The young man has since been arrested and charged with kidnapping, assault, and other charges. This woman's attempt to break out of what is definitely a toxic relationship is commendable, and if it did nothing, it drew everyone's attention to her plight and led to the arrest of her abusive boyfriend. The Stoic Teenage Girl, San Fernando Valley, LA. This homeowner's security camera captured the moment a man tried to abduct a 17-year-old high school student. It wasn't a single attempt. He tried to grab the girl 3 times, but each time she managed to break free. Some of his attempts were off the frame of the camera, but here you can see his initial attempt. He appears to have been following the girl, and suddenly he tried to grab her, but she broke free. He followed her, made a second attempt, and she managed to break free again. Something made him turn back and walk away, but the camera angle means we don't get to see what it may have been. Police confirmed this to be an attempted kidnapping and believe the gray vehicle that left the scene moments later belonged to the kidnapper. Police intensified a patrol along the area to ensure the safety of other students who took the same route as the young lady in the video. The young lady is fierce, and though she had no one to help her, she didn't let that stop her. She fought off her attacker. Putting up a little fight might be all you need to survive in such situations. Carjacking or double kidnapping, Florida. This video was captured in Hillsborough, Florida on the 10th of October. It was late evening when a distraught father flagged down a cop car saying someone had stolen his vehicle. But it wasn't just the ride that had this man in such distress. He had something more precious in the stolen vehicle. His 4- and 8-year-old children. You shouldn't leave kids inside a vehicle. That's one way to avoid a situation like this. The cops were quick, and in a matter of minutes they had the car in their sights. This is the moment the officer caught up with the truck and commanded the driver to stop and pull over.
Stop the truck! Now! Pull into the parking lot!
The questioning began, and the man behind the wheel, a man who looked creepy and couldn't answer any of the cops' questions. As the man's being pulled out of the vehicle, you can hear one of the kids say, "That's not my dad."
Alright, step out of the car.
That's not my dad.
Step out of the car, bro.
I know where my dad is.
I know where your dad is. I saw him running this way.
The only thing the kidnapper manages to say is weird. "It's not me."
Are you gonna step out? I cannot leave you. Give me the car keys. Give me the car keys.
He says that repeatedly, and it makes you wonder who it might be. Is it some spirit out of a medieval era novel? He was arrested on the scene and charged with carjacking and 2 counts of attempted kidnapping. The Dramatic Rescue, Alabama. This is another case helped towards a happy resolution by a total stranger. "If you hear something, say something" is held to a high standard by this man who called the cops when he heard the screams of a woman coming from a van. He didn't just call the cops. He followed the van and kept calling the police while making sure he had the van in his sights. The kidnapper is Sanders, a homeless man from Los Angeles who had only been in Alabama for a couple of months. But he's not like every other homeless person. His rap sheet could easily belong to a hardened criminal. Here's the moment the cops pull him out of his van, kicking and screaming. Moments before he was pulled out of his van and cuffed, a Good Samaritan had called the police to report hearing a woman scream. The kidnapper had attempted to drag the woman into the woods, but she put up more fight than he bargained for, and he was forced to put her in the van. Sanders wasn't willing to give up easily. He held the victim at knife point inside the vehicle as the cops surrounded the vehicle. Watch as the cops pull the victim out of the van after tasing Sanders. What the cops found inside the van will give you the chills. Sanders had turned the inside of the van into a cage. Wires covered the windows and every inlet for light was blocked up. This makes you wonder if this is the first time he is using it for abduction. Watch the fortress he made the van into. Again, it's all down to that good Samaritan who made sure Sanders didn't get out of the area with his victim. Remember, if you see something, say something. You might be saving a life. 3-year-old abducted girl, Albuquerque. Nothing is as disturbing as watching a child in danger of any sort. The little girl sitting alone in a cold, dark parking lot has had a torrid day. Earlier, her mother's car was reportedly stolen with the girl inside. But this heartwarming moment is the exact time a police officer found the little girl sitting all by herself in a dark parking lot. The child was motionless, cold, and scared when the cop found her.
Hey, sweetheart. You okay? Come here. Come here. She's okay. She's okay. She's getting warm. You're okay, baby.
The child's mother was running an errand inside the store and left the child inside this car. This is a dangerous thing to do. Parents should be aware of the dangers of leaving their kids in a car to run a quick errand. We've seen this go awry too many times. In this case, a carjacker made away with the car and the little girl inside. Here's the emotional moment mother and daughter were reunited. You can hear the joyful outcry as the child is restored to the mother.
Yeah. Oh, my God. You said warmer his ear. Are you okay, sweetie?
Hi, baby girl.
Whatever you do, keep your kids close, and don't leave them in the car to run errands. The 8-year-old, Texas. This might just be the most painful thing you'll hear in a long time. The anguished voice of a mother crying for her daughter who'd just been kidnapped right before her eyes. It happened right on the street. The suspect grabbed the child and sped away, leaving the mother sprawled on the floor. You can see her running through the street, distraught as she calls for help.
Help me, please! My daughter just got kidnapped!
A day after the kidnapping, police got a tip that proved fruitful. The kidnapper had hunkered down at a hotel with his victim. The cops wasted no time. Armed to the teeth, they swarmed the hotel. Using a battering ram, they smashed in the door to the room where the suspect is suspected to be hiding and pulled out the suspect who appeared to be naked. He's 51-year-old Michael Webb. Inside, they found the little girl inside a laundry basket. Here's another angle of the moment the cops broke into the hotel room to grab Webb and rescue the little girl from his devilish hands.
Ford Police Department, open the door! Open the door! Open it now! Break it. Open it! Door. Hands! Let me see your hands! Step out here! Step out! Step out! Get on the ground. Shield. Get on the ground! Shield. Blood in bed. Blood in bed, man. Hey, here she is. Got her. We got her. Yes. Hey, buddy. Oh, yeah. Come on. Bring it out. Put your hand. I got it. She's in custody. We have her. We need an EMT. Get home MedStar. Yes. No. Don't worry about your clothes.
You can hear the rage and relief in the voices of these officers when they find her. We got her, one said as they carried the child to the car.
We got her. Hold the door. Hey, back off, guys. Back off. Please, just back off.
Riz, they found her. We have her.
Hey, Hayes, let's go. Let's get her in here so she can sit down. Guys, listen, just stay there for me, okay? Hey, do me a favor. Can you,
This is the father.
Okay, okay. Just hold on, okay?
What's this place called? What's this place?
It's the Woodbridge Suites.
Woodward Suites? All right.
It's in Forest Hill.
Webb has been sentenced to life in prison, as it should be. He won't get another chance to do this to another chance ever again. Whose child is it? Sacramento. Here's the moment two women walking with a child in a stroller are chased off by another woman who claims the child in the stroller is hers. She comes out of nowhere and the women are forced to run and leave the child in the stroller. A bystander stepped in, standing between the child in the stroller and the woman claiming to be the mother. He kept the crazy-looking woman from the child until the ladies returned to take the child to safety. The shock on the faces of these women is mirrored in mine as I imagine what could have happened if the stranger wasn't there to protect the child. The heroic Parasol staff, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It was 8 p.m. when a man was seen walking with a kid towards the Coeur d'Alene Parasol boot. They looked quite the ordinary sight and not out of place in the least. The boy's just 10 while the man looks old enough to be his father. Watch the two walk like father and child. The narrative changed moments later when the pair walked up to the Parasol boot. The boy ran behind the owner, Rodriguez, and said, "I don't know that man and he's not my dad." The man feigned surprised and insisted that he was the boy's father, but the Parasol owner and his staff sensed something was up. The first thing they did was protect the child while they asked the man a few questions. The man simply said he'd go get the boy's mom. The moment the man walked off, Rodriguez called the cops, but he didn't stop there. He left the kid with staff and followed the man, certain that he was up to no good. Rodriguez kept updating the police as he trailed the man. You can see a cut of Rodriguez trailing the man and a separate shot of the staff tasked with keeping the child safe. Police soon arrived on one scene and the suspect was arrested thanks to Rodriguez and the decision to keep a keen eye on his movements. If we had more people like Rodriguez and his staff, the world would be a better place. Also makes you wonder where the kids' parents were while all this went on. The Escape Miracle, Houston, Texas. Melvin Porter had a tumultuous relationship with a woman you see running scared on screen. According to reports, he'd walked into the lady's workplace a few days earlier acting aggressively, but by the next, the case took a drastic turn. Melvin kidnapped an employee of his ex-girlfriend at gunpoint. His ex was forced to make a deal with him and trade herself for her employee. She was smart and had the cops on the phone as she rode in the car with Porter. She left her line open, allowing the cops to listen in. As they neared a Shell gas station on the East X freeway in Splendora, she begged her ex to allow her to use the bathroom. It was that move that allowed her to escape and run towards the protective arms of the waiting officers.
Come here! Come here! Come here! Hey! Okay. You're okay. You're all right. You're okay.
The police swooped in and tried to arrest Porter, but that ended very badly for Porter, who reached for a gun and was punished for it. The Serial Killer's Victim, South Carolina. This video is a terribly disturbing one and will have you shedding a tear or two for the victim who was lucky to survive the harrowing experience. 30-year-old Kayla Brown was kidnapped by a suspected serial killer. The serial killer, Todd Colip, lured Kayla and her lover Charles David to his property on the pretext of offering them a landscaping job. This happened in September of 2016. When the lovers arrived on scene, they met the shock of their lives as Colip killed David and locked Kayla up in a metal shipping container after chaining her neck, feet, and hands. Hearing shouts from inside the metal container, police swung into action and broke the door to find the shocking sight of Kayla Brown in chains with her spirit almost beaten. Watch the moment she was discovered in November of 2016, 2 months after she was kidnapped and held hostage.
Just the girl. How are you, honey? This is
bolt cutters.
This is our investigator. He's a paramedic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get you out of there. Okay. Just hang loose for me. Anybody got? I need a handcuff.
Colip confessed to murdering about 7 people and has been sentenced to life in prison. The baby in a carjacking, Florida. Have you ever lost a 1-year-old baby? I don't think anything could be as devastating as that. Little Tinley Sage West was sleeping in her parents' SUV when the car was stolen. Carjackers are often focused on the front seat and making a quick getaway, so they ignore anything in the back seat. Here's the heartwarming moment when the car was found abandoned with little Tinley still sitting placidly in the back seat. The officer quickly checks the child out, making sure she's okay before lifting her out of the car. Even as she cries, a sigh of relief would escape you simply because the child is safe, unharmed, and will shortly be reunited with her parents. Cases of carjacking occurring with a child in the backseat have become quite rampant, and parents need to be a little more careful with their kids to avoid such incidents. The Fairy Godmother, Wickham, South London. Kidnappers are predators, and oftentimes theirs is a crime of opportunity. In this shop, notice the two men who walk in looking like regular customers. Like everyone else, they look to be interested in making a purchase, but what they're really after is something more sinister. The moment they noticed an unaccompanied 11-year-old girl, their focus switched to that child. Watch closely to see the child in a denim jacket. One of the men hung just outside the store waiting for the little girl to step out of it. The moment she's out, he approaches her and asks if she's alone. They stand speaking for a few minutes, and it appears the man has managed to convince the little girl to come with him. The question triggered a woman who had taken note of the man's suspicious movements. She didn't miss a beat, swooping in immediately to take the young girl away from the man. She asks him to leave and invites the little girl to stay with her. It's heartwarming to see people look out for the vulnerable like this woman just did. Kidnapping at the gas station, Northern California. Here's the heartwarming moment a smart gas station clerk helped stop a kidnapping attempt. She didn't just save the victim from her kidnappers, she also made sure the kidnappers faced the law swiftly. The victim came into the gas station scared and asking for help. You can see her in a black skirt. She explained that she'd been kidnapped but had managed to beg her captors to allow her to use the bathroom in the gas station. Her captors weren't just your run-of-the-mill men, they were armed with guns and were waiting in a car outside. Watch as she grabs the clerk's hands to share her gory story. The clerk slipped her phone to the victim and asked her to call 911 before locking her in the bathroom. She then locked the front door, but thinking that it would spook the kidnappers, she unlocked it, allowing the men into the store. Minutes later, the cops arrived with guns at the ready. The kidnappers were all arrested while the victim was saved by the quick wit of the gas station clerk. The victim had been kidnapped a day earlier, and she'll be eternally grateful for the quick wit of that clerk. The Kansas Girl, Wichita, Kansas. A child abducted in front of a liquor store in Wichita, Kansas has been rescued just before the Kansas-Oklahoma state lines. Just like we've seen a few times already, a carjacker stole a vehicle he thought was empty, but it wasn't as empty as he had thought. Law enforcement didn't actively chase the suspect, but seeing that he was headed to Oklahoma, they alerted the Oklahoma Highway Patrol who lined the I-35, waiting for the suspect in the vehicle. Here's the moment before the suspect was stopped and forced out of the vehicle before the 6-year-old child was rescued. Officers say the first thing the child said the moment she was rescued was, "I don't think that's my daddy."
We have one detained. We have the child also. on the vehicle.
"10 years in captivity, Cleveland." When Amanda Berry made the 911 call that will set freedom in motion for her fellow captives, these were her first words. "I've been kidnapped and have been missing for 10 years. I'm here, I'm free now." She was brave and selfless, knowing there were other women held captive in the house she'd escaped from. She led the cops right to it, and 2 more women like her were saved on that day. Here are the cops rushing to the door of the kidnapper, Ariel Castro's den. Across the street you can see Amanda Berry holding the child she birthed in captivity, watching freedom descend for the others held within the monstrous house. Two more women, Gina DeJesus and Michelle Knight, were rescued from that house. Each of these 3 women had spent at least 9 years in captivity, suffering several degrees of assault before freedom came. Kidnapped woman rescued at airport, Miami. A kidnapped victim at an airport is a scary thought. The moment the victim gets on that plane, the chances of ever finding and rescuing them becomes very slim. Behavior detection officers working with the TSA noticed strange behavior from a 25-year-old woman who was nervous, trembling, and appeared to be covering up some injuries on her face. She was at the ticket counter when the officers noticed this. On questioning her, they discovered that she'd been beaten and she confessed to being held against her will. Their keen eyes had found this woman and their quick reaction led to her rescue and freedom. The 911 prank, Florida. There are a ton of people looking to contact 911 at every given time. Oftentimes it's a life-threatening situation, and when dispatch fails to respond, lives may be lost. So when an 11-year-old girl texted 911 to report that her friend had been kidnapped by armed men, the police swung into action, calling a manhunt and searching all over the place. Imagine the disappointment when they discovered that the whole thing was a hoax and there was no kidnapping event. To teach the child the dangers of her actions, she was arrested and taken away. Here's footage of her arrest.
Stay calm. You can talk to your parents. We can open the window and let you talk to them. Nothing's going to happen to you. Do you understand that? Okay.
I'm telling you this right now, you're going to take this as a lesson at 11 years old, that if you do something stupid in the future, you're going to enjoy those cuffs.
I'm not going to do this again.
You know, this is going to be an opportunity for you to turn this into a learning experience. This is not something you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life.
She can be heard saying she'd never do it again. The response from the cops is perfect. They explain that this could be a learning experience. Some people need actual help while the police were chasing a mirage here. More dangerous things are happening elsewhere. Kidnapping at the front door, Charlotte, North Carolina. The Bryant family ring camera captured the disturbing moment a strange man stopped his car to talk to their young son late at night. The little boy had just stepped out of the house alone to take the dog out. The moment he stepped out, a BMW pulled up and stopped, and a strange man got out of the car and started to walk towards the boy. You can notice the fear in the boy's face as he freezes up, unable to put words together. Things could have gone sideways from here, but the boy's father noticed a strange man and stepped out to confront him. The family reported the incident to the police, but the stranger and his car were gone faster than you could say poof. The cops patrolled the area but couldn't find the BMW.
Brian says thankfully her husband noticed something was wrong.
What you got to ask my son?
Oh, I was wondering about the airplane.
My son ain't got no adult out here. That's kind of creepy.
The Bryant family has raised the alarm to warn their neighbors to stay vigilant to avoid dangers associated with situations like the one their son faced.